everyone, it's Tony with Hidden Light Photography. Did you capture the comet recently and want to learn how to process the data that you collected? Well, today we're going to learn how to process a comet, and we're going to use a tool in PixInsight called Comet Alignment. And that tool allows us to compensate for the comet's movement across the sky, allowing us to avoid artifacts, blurring, and other things that can cause frustration when processing a comet. So if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. I don't want you to miss out on any valuable information. Now let's jump on in and learn how to process comets. Now let's process C2023-A3 Tsuchinshan-Atlas. Now this workflow will work for pretty much any comet out there. So if you're watching this and you have a data set for a different comet, give it a try. Let me know how it works down in the comments below. Now, when we run WBPP, we're going to run WBPP like normal, just like you would with any other image. There is one difference though. If we hop into my C2023-A3 folder, this is the output folder that I had in WBPP for this data set. Whichever output folder you use, you're going to see your different files such as master, registered, logs, so on and so forth. Normally, I'll get rid of everything except for the master. In this case, when we're processing a comet, we are going to want to hang on to the registered folder, and that'll make sense in just a moment. Now, if this is your first time processing a comet and you used individual subframes, when you go into your master file, you may be in for a little bit of a scare. And what I mean by that is this right here. Now this was imaged with a mono camera, an ASI 2600mm camera, and we can see the different colors, and we can also see some artifacts in the core. Don't panic, that's perfectly normal, and I'm going to show you exactly how to get rid of that. But why does that happen? Let's take a look at Blink here. Here we have all of my files, red, green, and blue, uploaded into Blink. And if I go ahead and play it, watch the comet. Comets move fast. They move a lot faster as compared to the background stars. And as you can see here, C2023-A3 is moving against the background stars. That is the reason for the separation here. The comet moved so far while I was imaging red, and then it moved so far when I was imaging green, and then it moved again as I was imaging blue. Now, getting rid of that is extremely easy. So let's go ahead and hop out of all of this here. Now, the first thing that we want to do here is align the comet. Aligning the comet is going to get rid of the artifacts in the core as well as that separation, or if you're using a one-shot color camera, you could end up with some blurriness, distortions, things like that. So here's how we get rid of it. If we go into Process All Processes and we come down to Comet Alignment, what we're going to do here is we're going to input all of our subframe files. So if we go to Add Files, what we're going to do here is use our registered files. This is where the registered folder comes into play. So if we open this up, for one-shot color users, you'll have one file here with all of your subframes. For monochrome users, you'll have different folders with your different filters, red, green, and blue. So I'm going to go ahead and start with red. I'm going to select the very top one, and I'm going to come all the way to the bottom, hold Shift, highlight everything in the red folder, and get them into Comet Alignment. Next, I'm going to go back into Add Files, and I'm going to grab everything from my green folder. Again, click on the top one, go all the way to the bottom, hold Shift, and select all of my green files. And finally, I'm going to go back into Add Files, and I'm going to go ahead and grab all of my blue frames. So now I have all of my frames, starting with frame 1 all the way down to 240. Now what Comet Alignment does is it organizes your frames in order of time that each frame was imaged. The earliest frame, number 1, and the last frame is going to be the latest frame with the last time. So there's a couple of things to be aware of in here. We are going to want to generate comet path mask, and I'll show you what that is in just a moment. And then the next thing to consider is compute PSF fits. Now, what does compute PSF fits do? What that does is it'll try to automatically track the core of the comet. The core should be the brightest object in the image. And it'll try to automatically calculate the travel of the core. This helps if for some reason the comet that you're imaging has kind of a curved trajectory throughout the image. Most of the time, a linear path will work. My recommendation is uncheck compute PSF fits, especially if when you blink through your frames, your initial frames, and you see that the comet's moving in a linear fashion, just uncheck PSF fits. I'll kind of go over a little bit of an example here in just a moment. What we're going to do from here is select an output directory. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is just create a new folder here. I'm just going to call it YouTube example. And I'm going to use that folder for the time being. To set this up, we're going to go to the first frame, frame number 1, and double click. Here, you're going to want to find the core of your comet. Now, I already know that the core of mine is right over here. If you're having trouble finding, you can always go ahead and do a quick auto stretch, locate the core of your comet, and if you take a look, it's kind of blown out. And what you want to do is, once you locate the core, is delete the auto stretch, because this makes it very easy to find the dead center of the core. We want to hover the crosshairs over the core, hold Control, and click. There is a possibility that you may be a little bit off center. If for whatever reason the program places this circle off center from the center of your core, just go ahead and hover over the core, hold Control, and click. Next, what we want to do is come all the way down to the last frame, double click, and do the same thing. Again, if you're having trouble finding the core, just do a quick auto stretch, locate your core, and then delete the auto stretch. Hold Control and click on the dead center of the core. And again, if for some reason the circle goes off center, just go ahead and find the dead center, hold Control, and make sure that that circle's in the dead center. What this does is it tells Comet Alignment exactly where the core starts and where the core ends. And then it's going to go ahead and compute the trajectory of the comet within each frame and align each image based on the comet. What we're going to do here now is click the circle. And then Comet Alignment is going to go ahead and align all of our images. And here is our comet path mask. This right here represents the trajectory that the comet took within our image. So what happens if you use the PSF fits? If your comet happens to pass a bright star, Comet Alignment could end up picking up on that bright star and shifting this trajectory, thus giving you a little bit of a jump in your image at that point and misalign the comet. Most of the time, using linear, like we just demonstrated, will work. Unless, of course, your comet is on a curved trajectory, then you're going to want to use compute PSF fits. Unfortunately, my comet did not pass a bright star, so I can't demonstrate what I'm trying to explain. I know that Adam Block has a very good video on this and actually demonstrates what happens when your comet passes a bright star. So if you have a moment, make sure to check out that video. I'll throw a link to it in the description of this video so you can check it out. Now, our trajectory here looks really good, so we're going to go ahead and accept this. I'm going to reset Comet Alignment, close it out, and then close out of our images here. Now, the next step, let's go ahead and check our work. Let's go to Process, All Processes, and let's hop back and blink. Let's see exactly what happened here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these files. I'm going to go to the Open section. And in my folder here, I just wanted to use this YouTube example to demonstrate the Comet mask. I already have all of this done in my Comet Aligned folder. I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of my images here. All of these have been through the Comet Alignment process. Now here's the cool part. Remember in the beginning when we first did blink, we noticed the comet moving across the frame. Now, since all of our images have been comet aligned, when we play this, the comet stays still. Watch the top of the screen and the right side of the screen. And notice how now the stars are coming in. So now instead of the comet moving, we actually have our stars moving. That's really cool. That is what Comet Alignment does, is get rid of the movement of the comet and make the comet stationary in the image. And that is what gets rid of the artifacts within the core, as well as the separation of the different color channels, or if you're using one-shot color, blurriness, distortions, things like that. Now it's time to stack. But before we stack, what we need to do is remove the stars from each and every one of these images. Because what happens if we stack as is right now, we're going to have star streaks all across our image, and we want to avoid that. Let's make this as easy as possible. So let's go ahead and exit out of Blink. And what we're going to do here is go into Process, All Processes, and we're going to go into WBPP, and we're going to go ahead and process Batch. Now, we don't need our stars images because we're going to use our actual master file for the stars. So we're going to uncheck Output Star Files, and we're going to go ahead and choose a folder where we want our starless comet images to go to. So we're going to click on the little folder icon here, and we'll go ahead and we'll create a folder. Now, in my C2023A3 folder, Comet Aligned is where I put all of my images from Comet Alignment. And then within that, I created a folder called Starless. So what you'll do is you'll just, create a folder. And again, I'll just create one, for example, here. We'll click the highlight and click Select Folder. And then you'll see the folder populated here. We want to unscreen stars and leave add suffixes checked. We'll just leave this as default. Select input files and execute. This is where we would take within our Comet Aligned folder here. So I'll just show you within Comet Aligned, we're going to take the files that Comet Alignment process created. So we'll just select all of our files that are Comet Aligned and we'll click Open. From here, we'll go ahead and click OK. Now, for the sake of video length, I'm not going to go ahead and do this process. I already have it done, so we'll continue on from that point. Keep in mind, though, little word of caution, this can take quite a while, and there's multiple factors that'll determine how long it takes. such as if your GPU boosted or not, how fast your computer is, how many files you have, just to name a few. So be prepared once you click OK that this could take a while to run, but it makes it so much easier to get a final image. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel out of this. You'll go ahead and click OK. Once you're done, another little tip here, click reset on BlurXterminator and then make sure to recheck anything that you normally use, such as generate star image and unscreen stars. I found, and I don't know if it was just a quirk, that after I ran the batch process, when I went in to go extract stars on another image, it never produced a stars image. Once I reset BlurXterminator, it worked just fine. So now, once we have our starless images, let's go back into process all processes and let's go to blank. And let's go ahead and just close out of what we had. Let's go to the open folder. Starless is where I put all of my starless comet images. So I'm going to select all of them and click open. And here we have our comet images with all of the stars removed. So if we go ahead and play this, we're going to notice that the comet stays stationary and all of our stars are gone. We have a couple of little things remaining here in the sides. We'll take care of that later on. But for the most part, as you notice, the top of the screen comes in, the right side of the screen comes in, everything is looking good and aligned. So let's stop that and let's exit out of Blink. Now we're going to want to stack everything. And to stack everything, we're going to go to Process, All Processes, and we're going to come down to Image Integration. Image integration is going to take all of our frames and stack them. Now, if you're using one-shot color, you're going to input all of your files, all of your starless files. If you're using mono, then you're going to go ahead and stack them one channel at a time. We'll go to Add Files, and then I'm going to come down to Comet Aligned, go into my starless. Again, one-shot color, you'll just take the whole lot of the files, everything in here, add them into image integration and proceed. For mono, like what I have here, I'm going to start off with red. So I'm going to highlight all of my red, hit open. Now, since we don't have any stars for weights, we're going to go don't care, all weights. And I don't want to normalize, we'll just avoid normalization. Once you have normalization and weights set, then all that we're going to do is hit circle. Now we don't need our rejection file, so we're going to go ahead and close out. But here we have our red frame for our comet. This is the red channel. We'll go ahead and minimize. Now let's go ahead and name this really quick. We'll go red. Now let's go ahead and reset image integration. Go to Add Files. I like to make sure that I'm in the correct folder, so you'll see me kind of backing out of this. If you're wondering why, that's why. Just always like to double check, make sure that I'm doing the right thing at the right time. So I'm going to grab all of my green images, hit open. Again, normalization, none, weights, don't care, all weights, and hit the circle. We'll go ahead and close out of the rejection. Let's name this green. Do a quick little stretch on it, and we'll close or minimize. One more time, let's reset image integration, go to Add Files, and let's grab blue. So here we have blue. We'll go all the way down, highlight all of our blues, hit open, normalization no, weights don't care, all weights, and we'll click the circle. And we'll close out of this rejection, do a quick little stretch, name this blue. And here we go. Let's go ahead and reset image integration and close out. And we'll minimize blue. And now it's time for the stars. So let's go into our master folder. We'll go into C2023A3 in this case. Now we're going to utilize the master folder. For one-shot color users, you're going to want to open up your master light file. For monochrome users, we're going to open up each of our colors. Now, I want to bring something to your attention, make sure that you are aware of this. If you are using mono, the registered files with the Comet are not drizzled. I know that a lot of us like to drizzle by a factor of 2. As you can see, I believe it's down over here, we have R mono drizzle 2 times. Do not use these. We need to have the R mono, G mono, B mono that is drizzled 1 time. There's really no drizzle at all. Do not use auto crop. So you'll see here R mono auto crop. Do not use the auto crop. The reason is everything needs to be cropped identical. For one-shot color users, make sure to grab your master light file that is not auto cropped. You do not want to use auto crop. So I'm going to go ahead and grab R, G, and B, and then I'm going to click open. I'll go ahead and get rid of my rejection models. And I'm going to give each of these a stretch. Now, just for the sake of identification, I'm going to go ahead and rename these. We'll say B stars. This one will be G stars. And finally, R stars. So now we're going to have pretty much what looks familiar with our workflow. We're going to go through the entire correction process on each of these sets, and then we're going to go through stretching and then beautification. What I like to do on this is start with cropping. Let's get the easiest thing out of the way, and we need a reference image for our cropping. In this case, I would use blue. Whichever one that you have that has the biggest black empty space on the edges, that's the one you want to use. So I'm going to leave blue open. I'm going to organize this a little bit. And I'm going to go into process, all processes, and I'm going to come down to dynamic crop. What I want to do is just get rid of that empty space. I'm going to zoom in and just make sure that I'm outside of the fringing areas, the black areas, everything that's bad here, I just want it cropped out. And then we'll just kind of double check, go along the edges of the images, make sure that all stacking artifacts are out, all of the bad areas, because that's going to be very bad news later on in the processing stages. Now, one thing I kind of want to show you here, let's open up green just to show you. These little light streaks that you see, I don't know if the video can pick it up. Those are remnants of the stars. If we did not remove the stars, and this would be horrible, and it would be kind of a pain to get out. So that's why we removed the stars when we did. So now, since we have our cropping box set with dynamic crop, what we're going to do is open up each image. We're not going to touch our reference image, in this case blue. We're going to do this one last. Here we have green. From dynamic crop, triangle, drag and drop. We'll do red, triangle, drag and drop. And then we'll do the same for all of our images. And this is also why we do not want to use auto crop, because everything needs to be identical. On a side note, this little box is just stating that we're losing our astrometric solution. That's okay. We'll go ahead and add that in later. Now that we're back on our reference image, we'll just hit the green check mark. And now everything is cropped. So we'll exit out of dynamic crop for the time being. And let's go ahead and double check our work. We want to make sure that we did not leave any bad areas. This is going to be just like looking for stacking artifacts. Just make sure that everything is looking good. So now that we've double checked all of our work, if everything looks good, we're clear to move on. If you find some bad areas, go ahead and repeat the process and crop those areas out, making sure you do the same crop for every image, just like we did. Now, for one-shot color users, you're good to move on to the next step. For monochrome users, we do have to do one more thing. Since all of these channels, red, green, and blue, were imaged at separate times, meaning red was imaged and then green and then blue, we're going to go ahead and do a star alignment. Even though that we imaged all in the same hour, we imaged back to back to back in the same night, we did not adjust rotation or anything, it's still a good idea. Filter shift, thing shift, and we're not imaging all channels at the same time like a one-shot color camera. So what we're going to do here is we're going to choose the best image, the best signal. It doesn't have to be perfect, so no need to put too much thought into it. Here we have red, we have blue, and then we have green. I'm just going to use red as my reference image. It looks like the stars are a little bit more clear. So what we're going to do here, let's minimize all of this. Let's go into process, all processes, and we're going to come down to star alignment. For reference image, make sure view is selected. There's file and then there's view. Since our images are up on the workspace, we're going to choose view and we're going to click the icon off to the right. And we're going to go ahead and select our stars or whichever channel that you choose to be the best one. We'll hit OK. And then in target images, we're going to click add views and we're going to choose the other two. In other words, G stars and B stars. We'll hit OK. And then we'll go ahead and hit the circle. I'm going to go ahead and reset star alignment and close out. And now we have our new images. I'm going to go ahead and rename these, but one thing to keep in mind before you do, if you want to rename this to B stars and G stars, we have to get rid of our original B stars and G stars. So I'll go ahead and rename these. And I'll give them a quick stretch. And now we're ready for the next step. What you want to look for is anything that came about with star alignment. For example, here, let's go to G stars and come all the way to the left. I'm not sure if you can see it in the video, but this little area, let's zoom all the way in. This little area right here will cause issues with background extraction. And as you can see, there was a little bit of shift. The same thing goes for B stars. Let's zoom all the way in. We'll go all the way up. You see it a little bit at the top and all the way left. We see it here on the left side. So we're going to go ahead and run the cropping process again. and get rid of those bad areas, because again, that'll cause issues with background extraction. So we'll go to process all processes, and we're going to come down to dynamic crop. And we're going to go ahead, draw our cropping box. Let's just make sure that everything is looking good and we're accomplishing exactly what we're expecting to accomplish. You don't want to cut too much off. Keep in mind, everything that you crop off does get rid of the size of your picture. So if you're looking for a printout, it's going to determine how big you can actually print. So just a little tip there. So that looks good. Let's go ahead and grab G stars, triangle, drag and drop. We'll minimize. We'll grab R stars, triangle, drag and drop. We'll grab red. Again, any cropping that you do needs to be done on every single image. And now that we're back on the reference image, we'll hit the check mark. And let's just double check our work. Zooming out, we look good. Let's zoom in. Blue looks good. Let's double check green. And we look like we are in pretty good shape here. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom out. Now, the next step here is going to look a little bit familiar if you've seen my other workflow videos. We're going to go ahead and balance our color channels. For one-shot color users, you're going to want to separate out your color channels. But before we do that, we want to check the mean value of our stars images. And to do that, we're going to go to Process All Processes. We're going to come down to Statistics. And you're going to select your views. Here, we'll start with blue stars. Make sure 16-bit is selected. If you're on anything else, as you can see here, this could be a little bit confusing to read. 16-bit gives you a nice, easy number. For blue stars, we have a mean value of 178. For G stars, 123. And for R stars, 123. So green and red are pretty much the same. I'm going to use the lowest value, the least prominent channel, in order to balance these, to linear fit these images. So here I can really choose red or green. So I'll probably use green in order to grab these. So let's exit out of statistics. For one-shot color users, you're going to click this little button over here just under image. That'll separate out your color channels. We'll go to Process All Processes, and we'll come down to Linear Fit. We'll grab our reference channel. I'm going to go ahead and use green. And I'm going to apply this. We'll hit OK. I'm going to apply this to both red and blue. Since green is our reference, we don't need to do anything with green. So I'll start off with blue, triangle, drag and drop. From here, we'll do a quick stretch. Let's minimize blue. And then we'll do the same thing on red. Triangle, drag and drop. We'll do a quick stretch. And then I'm going to go ahead and minimize this as well. Now for stars, I like to separate these and actually process them individually, especially on a comet. And the reason is the cores of comets are bright. They can be bright. And when it comes time to extract the stars, it can take some of the core with it and cause some issues. To me, and this is personal preference, I like to process my star channels individually because it's a little bit easier to correct for if and when the core goes with the star's image. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to demonstrate this with our stars images or our stars channels processed individually. What we're going to do now is do an initial correction of our stars. We'll go to Process All Processes. We'll go to BlurXterminator. Ensure Correct Only is checked. Triangle, drag and drop. And then I'll do the same for blue and red. So now BlurXterminator has been done on red, green, and blue. And then we can go ahead and move on to background extraction. Since all stacking artifacts, fringing areas, and dark areas have been cropped out, the stars have been corrected, background extraction is the next step for the correction phase. So we'll exit out of BlurXterminator, and what we're going to do is go to Script, SETI Astro, Automatic DBE, and then we'll execute. And then what we're going to do here is get rid of our original images. For example, here's red stars or R stars. I'll get rid of that. And then I have R stars underscore ADBE. I'm just going to rename this to R stars, minimize, and I'll do the same for blue and green. So now red stars, green stars, and blue stars have been background extracted. And now we can move on to the next step. And I'm going to do things just a little bit different here. I'm going to go ahead and actually run Noise Exterminator. And then I'm going to go ahead and run the full BlurXterminator. So let's go ahead and zoom in. We'll go to Process All Processes, and we're going to go down to Noise Exterminator. This is only about an hour of integration, so the noise is a little bit more severe than it normally is. I'm going to run a denoise factor of 0.8. And then I'll do the same thing on the other two channels. Here's green. And red. Now, I'm a creature of habit, so I like to do things in the order that I normally do them in, even though we're not going to be using the Comet or anything in here. Again, I'm just a creature of habit, so that's why I'm running Noise Exterminator. Now, these are already in grayscale, so all we have to do is go to Script, Image Analysis, and we'll go to Full Width Half Max Eccentricity, or FWHM Eccentricity. We'll click Measure, and then this will give us the median full width half max value of the image, in this case 2.337. So I'm going to round this to 2.34. We'll exit out of this, go into Process All Processes, BlurXterminator, uncheck Correct Only, make sure Automatic PSF is unchecked, and that'll allow us to enter in the PSF diameter, in this case 2.34. Triangle, drag and drop. And now the full BlurXterminator has been run on the red stars. And we're going to do the same thing on green and blue. We'll go to Script, Image Analysis, Full Width Half Max Eccentricity, click Measure, and we'll plug in 2.7 into the PSF diameter. Triangle, drag and drop. And lastly, we'll go ahead and do the blue stars. Script, Image Analysis, Full Width Half Max Eccentricity, measure. And we have 3.137, so that'll round to 3.14. 3.14, triangle, drag and drop. And now what we're going to do is pull the stars from each channel. Process all processes, star exterminator, make sure generate star image and unscreen stars is checked, triangle, drag and drop. And now we're left with our comet image, which we don't need. So I'm going to just close out of it. And then we have our stars image. We'll do the same thing for G stars, triangle, drag and drop. Here we can see a little bit of artifact, and we can always touch that up. But this is also why I like to separate individually, because this can actually get a lot worse. So I'm going to go ahead and actually minimize G stars, and I'm going to minimize the stars image that's associated just in case we need it. We'll go to R stars, triangle, drag and drop. We'll minimize R stars, as we can see some artifact in here as well. Now, what I want to do here is do a test stretch just because of this artifact here. Sometimes this can go away completely with stretching, and then we'll go from there depending on the results. So let's go in the process, all processes, and let's go to channel combination. For red, we're going to assign our red stars. For green, we're going to assign our green stars. And for blue, we're going to assign our blue stars. And then we'll go ahead and hit the circle. Let's exit out of channel combination. Let's exit out of star exterminator. Let's minimize our stars. Let's go to script, SETI Astro, and star stretch. Let's show preview. Let's expand the window. And here we can see a little bit of our artifacts in there. Let's do a little bit more of a stretch. And we can see here that a lot of that artifact in the red channel went away. So I think that we're pretty good. Let's see what we can do about some of these lines here. So let's exit out of this. Let's exit out of the stars image, the combined one. Let's hop into red here. Let's bring out clone stamp. And I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger here. That's probably a little bit too big, but, you know, it'll work. We're just going to work this a little bit at a time. And that should do nicely. Let's hit the check mark. Let's go into green stars. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to clean this up just a little bit here. I'll get a smaller brush for those up there. Let's go down to 20. Let's see where that brings us. Perfect. We'll hit the check mark. And we'll close out a clone stamp. So now our stars are nice and cleaned up. Now, having these combined and doing everything with the stars combined, I've found that a lot of the red channel gets pulled and gives me these big red splotches to where I have to use masks and things like that in order to extract the stars. So just something to be mindful of. The reason that I'm doing the stars separately, it makes it a lot easier to compensate and also get a cleaner star image. So now that we have our stars images cleaned up, let's go ahead and minimize. Let's go back into process all processes, and we're going to go into channel combination. Let's reinsert red stars for red, G stars for green, and blue stars for blue. We're going to go ahead and hit the circle. Now at this point, do not go ahead and do an auto stretch. You're going to get a nice little mess. If you happen to accidentally do that, don't worry, just close out of it and hit the circle again. Now here's where we're going to have to trust the process. Let's exit out of channel combination, and we want to color calibrate this image. And we're going to use SPCC to do that. However, SPCC requires an astrometric solution. So we need to reapply the astrometric solution that we lost when we did our cropping. So we're going to go to Script, Image Analysis, Image Solver. And here you want to make sure that everything is correct. I like to use focal distance. I was using an ASI 2600 mm camera, which has a pixel size of 3.76. There's no searching for the comet. The comet's always moving. It's not going to be in the same part of the sky. So you need to know the right ascension declination coordinates of where you originally captured the comet. It's very easy to do. Stellarium, it's a free phone app. You can actually go back to the date and the time of your first subframe of the comet. Always use the first subframe that you captured of the comet, because that's going to be the center point of the image. That's what we want to align to. Remember, everything was aligned based off of the first image of the comet in Comet Alignment. And these stars are going to be locked on based on the first capture of the comet. So in Stellarium, you go back to the time and the day of your first capture, and you just plug in the right ascension and declination coordinates. Once that's there, click OK. So now our stars image has our astrometric solution reapplied. And what we're going to do is go to Process All Processes, Spectrophotometric Color Calibration, or SPCC. Make sure that you do not stretch your image yet. And this is where trusting the process comes in. What we're going to do for QE curve, choose our sensor, and then we're going to go ahead and choose the filters that we use to image. In this case, I was using a Sony mono sensor with Optolong red, green, and blue filters. If you need help with SPCC, getting it set up, even expanding your filter database or creating your own filters, make sure to check out my video. I'll have it in the description of this video here. So now that we have our sensor and our filters used, we need a background sample. We're going to go to Script, SETI Astro, and we're going to go to Find Background. Click Search, and the script will go ahead and find the ideal background to get a preview sample from. So now we have our background. We'll exit out of the script, and you can see the background sample there. On SPCC, region of interest, make sure to check it, click From Preview, and select our background that was put in by SETI Astro script. Hit OK, triangle, drag and drop. And now SPCC is done and has completely color calibrated our stars image. Keep in mind, SPCC doesn't care that the image is stretched or not stretched. So even though it's a black screen for us, the information, the data is still there for SPCC to work with. Also, SPCC doesn't care if there's a comet in there, a galaxy, a nebula. All that it works with are the stars. So let's go into preview, delete all. That'll get rid of our background sample. Let's reset SPCC and exit out. Now we're going to go to script, SETI Astro, star stretch. Let's go ahead and show preview. Let's go ahead and expand this, and we'll go ahead and preview to our liking. Let's refresh. And we can color boost if we want. We can pretty much do whatever we want in this image. Let's go ahead. Before I do this, I want to make a clone just in case we don't like what we see. And we can always go back and redo as we see fit for our comet image. Let's show preview. For the comet image, I kind of want the stars to be just a little bit more prominent in there. Maybe something like this over here. We'll go ahead, let's execute that for now. We can always fine tune and dial this in as we go. We can see all the different colors of the stars. So we'll fine tune this in a little bit. Let's go ahead and just put that off to the side. In fact, just so we can tell the two apart, let's do comet underscore stars. Now I have stars in lowercase for our pixel math formula here in just a little bit. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to work on our comet images. So for one-shot color users, you can process this all together. You can separate them however you feel more comfortable. What I'm going to do here is process these individually. The first thing that I'm going to do here is actually do a background extraction. So let's work these one at a time. Script, SETI Astro, automatic DBE, and we'll just go ahead and execute. And here's our background extracted comet. It looks scary. Trust the process. Just stay with me here. Let's go ahead and exit out of, I'm going to keep the red just in case, you never know what's going to happen within processing. Sometimes it's a good idea just to keep some things so you can easily go back. So I'm going to go ahead and background extract my green and blue images. All right, so now we have red, green, and blue background extracted. Now, what I want to do here is kind of check around, get rid of any blemishes that I see. We can see a few just from stars and, that were left over, as well as artifacts. So let's work these one at a time. Let's go into script, SETI Astro, and we're going to go to Blemish Blaster. We'll apply an auto STF. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit and just start working some of these blemishes here. Okay, so now I have my red, green, and blue images cleaned up. You don't need to go too crazy with it. You just want to get some of the bigger items gone and just get them a little bit clean. A lot of this stuff will come out with stretching. So now that we are cleaned up, background extracted, the next step is to go ahead and stretch. So we're going to start on red. We'll go to script, SETI Astro, and we'll come down to statistical stretch. We'll do a 1/8 preview. And you can really set your target median where you want it. Um, this isn't a nebula filling the image. So 25, it's a little bit of a brighter background. We can always go ahead and adjust that. If you do 0.1 and then refresh the preview, it'll give you something like this. So it's really up to your preference. Uh, Probably a target median of about 0.15 might be a good spot for this. 0.18, 0.2. It's really up to your taste and where you want to be with it. I'm going to go ahead and let's see what 0.18 looks like on a final image. See, that might be a little bit bright, but again, we can always go ahead and fine tune this. If we bring out GHS, let's go ahead and select a preview here. We'll go to linear, and then we can always bring that background down just a little bit. It really just depends on where you want to go with it. You don't want to clip, so make sure that you're aware of how far left your histogram is. And then we can just go ahead and fine tune these however that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of these images stretched. I'm going to actually go with red here. I'm going to back it up, reapply my auto stretch, and I'm actually going to bring these to 0.15. That's going to be my starting spot for these. I'll click execute. And then I'm going to go ahead into green. We'll go to script, SETI Astro statistical stretch. Do 0.15 again. And then finally on blue, we'll do 0.15 again. And then what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go ahead and fine tune these in generalized hyperbolic stretch. So I'm going to go start with blue, and I'm going to go pick a point here. And I'm going to just kind of choose a spot where I can enhance my contrast just a little bit. So if the video can pick it up, we see these streaks within the comet tail. I'm just going right next to one, and then that'll set my vertical yellow line. Notice how that line moves as I move across the image. Click and hold on the image and it'll move. So I'm just going to go right on one of the brighter areas of the tail, bring my symmetry point slider over to it, open up a preview, and my stretch factor, I'm just going to go ahead and pull that just a little bit. And I'm going to try to bring out, if we go before and after, that kind of brings out a little bit more of that tail. I can go ahead and protect the highlights. Here's before, after. And then I'm going to go ahead and accept that. I'm going to go linear and just darken up that background just a little bit more. Not a whole lot. We're just going to go a little bit here. And then I'm going to go and accept that. I'm going to do this for all three images. So now I have red, green, and blue stretched to my liking. And we want to make sure that the backgrounds are pretty much similar here. And if they are not similar, we need to make them similar. And the way that we do that, so here red is just a little bit low, in some areas. But if you needed to make an adjustment to the background, there's one of two ways to do it. In GHS, if you open up a preview and you go to in transformation type linear, your black point slider, you can move it right to darken, left to brighten. So if you needed to adjust, that's where you would adjust. And the other way would be in process all processes, histogram transformation. Sorry about that, I clicked one above. So histogram transformation, you'll choose the image that you're working on. In this case, red_ADBE. We'll see our histogram curve, open a preview, and over here is our black point slider. Pull it right to darken, left to brighten. But the thing with histogram transformation, it won't brighten any more than it was originally, which is where GHS comes in handy. So now that everything is stretched the way we like it, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of check for noise here. I see a little bit of noise, so I'm going to actually run a quick noise exterminator on my red channel here. I'm going to do a denoise of 0.6. And then I'm going to go ahead and combine the channels. So we'll go to process all processes, and we're going to go ahead and do channel combination. We'll choose our red ADBE or whichever channel is red for the red channel. For green, we're going to choose green. And for blue, we're going to go ahead and choose blue. And then we'll go ahead and hit the circle. And here's our comet. Now from here, we can do pretty much whatever we wanted with it. We can go ahead and make some fine-tune adjustments. We'll go into curves transformation. We can adjust our contrast. And we can look at before, look at after. Here's before, here's after. And then we can go into saturation. We can adjust some saturation curves. We'll accept just for the sake of the video here. And now we have our comet image and we have our stars image. So we'll go ahead and go name our comet Comet. This way, comet is in our stars image name. So comet_stars, which will allow our pixel math formula here to work. We'll go ahead and create a new image, triangle, drag and drop. So I hope you found this video useful, and if you did and want to help support the channel, check out that join button and consider joining a Hidden Light Photography membership. There's lots of perks that come with being a Hidden Light Photography member, and your support really helps me create more content for you. Also, do me a favor. That channel icon that popped up, hit that channel icon and subscribe. I don't want you to miss out on any useful information. Drop a comment in the comment section. Have you processed a comet before? And if so, what challenges did you face? If not, did you learn anything new? And then, check out that next video. Until the next time, clear skies.